And we're live. Hello and welcome to another episode of HEX Therapy Live. I'm your host, Maddie ALLin. I've got a nice new background here for you to enjoy, showing off all my links, which now it's a shortcut, maddieall.in, and then TShare App, of course. And so the type of sacrifice that we're going to talk about today has to do with altruism and how giving back, it feels good, and people can do it in lots of different ways that are good for your mental health. So I'm really excited to be streaming again after all the fun things that happened in Vegas, and coordinating that event was truly an honor. So let's get started. Welcome to HEX Therapy. Awesome. So all the Hexicans meeting up in person, that reminded us how energizing it can be to be working with other people and to be a part of such an amazing community with so many awesome people. And so, as always, I think I'm really looking forward to all the cross promotion that I can do and all of the work that I can do with other Hexicans, which is one reason why I wanted to invite future us onto the stream. Hey, how's it going there?
Hi. Experiencing technical difficulties, apparently. There we go.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
There we go. Almost perfect. How is everyone?
Good.
Good.
I think somebody complimented me on my hair, which is nice. I appreciate it.
I was first.
Oh, okay. So somebody's asking, when is Cream coming back? Cream is coming back now. I mean, he already got back, and now he'll be on Quant Gang for real next time.
Cool. Yeah, he delayed his flight, didn't he, to be there? Is that what I heard him say?
No, well, I think he planned to be there that long. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
He
okay.
said he wanted to be the first one there and the last one to leave.
Yep.
Cream is still in an airplane. I'm not sure if you're trolling us or not, but either way, I hope he made it back safe. I think he said he did.
I hope he was on the west coast, because if he's flying up and to the right, he'll end up in the ocean if he started from the east coast.
I know, right? Yeah, he and I were laughing about that. Because there were a few times we asked for directions and people said, like, up and to the right.
Up and to the right, yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, when I fly home, I'm going to go up and to the right. Yeah.
Cool.
So, what's been going on with you?
Oh, took the dogs for a walk. Yep, it's one of those outdoorsy things I'm working on these days.
Yeah, cool. I bet they loved that.
Yeah, they loved it. Well, they ran. I kind of dragged my heels behind them, screaming, "Wait, wait!"
How's the weather where you are? Is it summer or winter or what?
It's winter, middle of winter.
Whoa.
Yeah. It doesn't snow here generally. It's close, but generally never does. Exactly where I am. And today's the first beautiful, sunny, fine day we've had for about 3 weeks of just non-stop rain.
Oh, wow.
So it's cool.
Yeah,
it's warm.
yeah, it was really hot here and in Vegas. It was like 113 degrees Fahrenheit in Vegas.
like a big, huge swimming pool out there outside the Palazzo, but you're not allowed to jump in. It's really annoying. That
Oh
one with the
yeah.
fountains. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could, if you were swimming around in there when the thing went off, you could find yourself going up and to the right
That's correct.
rapidly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I guess Hex has continued to outperform other cryptos. I mean, if we're checking the price once a week or once a month or once a quarter, I'd say we're pretty far up.
not bad. Not bad. A lot of people taking profit over the last week or two, and it just keeps bouncing back. Although, if I was a technical I can't even say the word, and I'm not one of those, I would say we're going into a bit of a cool-off period. But just when you think something like that, it's when it bites. So you don't trade.
Yeah.
Just stay staked.
Yeah. Well, we have lots of dolphins and sharks and whales that watch this show, so yeah.
Oh, well. They can
Let's,
comment and educate me because I have no idea.
Well, let's keep them thinking that the price is gonna go down. You know, that way they'll
buy the dip. Buy the dip. We'll wait.
Their bags cheaper. You know, for all the people we're onboarding with TShare.app. You know, $41 worth of Bitcoin, 500 days into the whole operation. That turned out to go a long way, didn't it?
Sure did. Sure
Comes out
did.
to about at $340 million now, buying $41 worth of Bitcoin, 75 days in, or 580, whatever.
Yeah, it's a long way back in history. It hurts my brain to think that far back.
So, yeah, but that's why I'm excited. The TShare app is something that people can onboard with $40 or $50. Well, at least $50 in MetaMask, and that should set them up well.
Some of us have noticed that you're excited about that. Actually,
really?
It's great to see you happy and smiling and
gosh.
having something to smile about. It's awesome.
I'm so happy about TShare app, and
yeah,
I mean, it's gotten significantly better since last time we even talked about it. Well,
yeah,
not
I
you
know.
and I, but like,
I put it out in the sun and I watered it, and it seems to really enjoy it.
So, is it true that you are the genius developer behind TShare.app?
Sir, I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. Yeah, so you and I have been developing the app for the past 5 or 6 weeks now, and it's come a long way from being a game of chutes and ladders or whatever we started out with.
Yep, that was such a cool idea, but it didn't have the up and to the right. It did the zigzag thing. So I was like, someone was like, no, can't have that.
Yeah. And then, of course, the claw game came along and won hearts and minds, fluffy hearts, in fact. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, I'm not sure how much the community understands it.
It was designed not to be understood. That was the whole point.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Remember?
Mission accomplished. That's right. Yeah.
That first time I said, I don't get it, Maddie. I don't get it. So what? You want a crane? And what? And you were like, so you don't get it? And I'm like, no. And he's like, yeah, that's perfect.
Yes.
Because we want people to not be worried about all the usual questions and just have some fun.
Well, yeah, and one of the design parameters of this is that people try it for themselves and then have their own aha moments, and you get it when you do it, not when we tell you about it. Which is why it's been so hard to have like the Apple moment, you know, where I wear my Steve Jobs costume and, you know, deliver some epic speech, right? Because the point of the app is to not be able to communicate to you without you trying it. So
yeah, it's I was saying yesterday somewhere it's a blur. But yeah, I mean, I coded it, and so all the little intricacies of exactly when, where, and how, and why. And I didn't really get it until the first time I got to test it, and then it was it's quite a strange feeling actually. It's like I didn't expect it, because it really does take you out of the. I mean, usually when you approach, this cryptocurrency thing that everyone's talking about, you're just so full of questions, and they
Yes.
are rightfully so, usually around money and risk and all that kind of
Yes.
thing. And there's so much you seek to understand, and it's kind of a barrier to entry. And
Yes.
then to experience doing anything at all that has the word crypto associated with it, that isn't all of that, is a very strange feeling, and it's kind of enlightening, and it really surprised me. Yeah. So
Yes.
well done. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, and you and I both worked together to make those ideas possible, because it was our deep discussions, your deep understanding of Hex, and our mutual excitement for the project for the product that we make into a project, right? By
Maddie and I we're developing a very interesting working relationship. Like, I'm always trying to be sort of lighthearted and not take anything too seriously for my own mental health. It's very important. So I'll say something really stupid, ha 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 ha, and then Maddie will go, yeah, but maybe there's something in that. And then the next thing you know, we've got cranes and fluffy hats, and
literally, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it's wild. It's wild.
it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's quite something.
It doesn't feel like work all the time, right?
Well,
Like,
speak for yourself. I guess that's a good segue, actually. You were gonna talk about sacrifices or something.
yes,
I've always wanted to
yeah,
know what it feels like to be a martyr.
okay. Well,
Yeah, let's try.
yeah, yeah. You can get that feeling once, I guess. Report
It's not
back
supposed to be
before
fun though,
you.
right? Just fulfilling or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah. I mean, so the
it was
idea of
fun, definitely.
sacrificing, I understand. Like, yeah, I used the word sacrifice instead of altruism because Pulse is coming out soon, and I want to remind people that, you know, that there's no expectation of work, right? And so that's one of the themes that I wanted to pull into the idea of you can give back as much as you want. You can pay forward the positive things that are coming out of being in the Hex community. I'm speaking to everybody, not just future us. Um,
We are all future us.
we are
Behold,
all future us. That's right.
I did not just say that. Oh well.
For legal purposes, we are all future us.
Yeah, yeah. No one is to blame. Everyone is to blame.
This is not financial or therapy advice. This is free speech and entertainment. It may be education, depending on how it's being used. But basically, the idea of sacrifice, right, is it's not expected. And so we don't expect legally to get pulse coins, even though we're sacrificing with that in mind. That is something that's really true to, I think, the mission of DeFi, because basically DeFi is not going through the government, but it's nice when DeFi plays by the laws that exist, right? And so in order for Pulse to be legally airdropped and to not cause a bunch of dumping because it has a bunch of value from the very first second, right? There's all these weird things that exist, like referring to being a part of the initial buy-in, referring to that as a sacrifice, right? And so these are legal gymnastics that have to be done, and that's beneficial, I think, to all of us, because it stops Pulse from falling under the purview of the SEC in a way that's legal. It's not scurrying the law at all. It's just saying
It's
you don't know
it's
what you're
also
buying.
literally true though, because we do not know what we're buying. Period.
Correct.
I
Yeah.
mean, we're going to get a bunch of ones and zeros, loosely associated to some shape of a heart with a pulse symbol through it. And beyond that, literally nobody knows. Richard doesn't know. I don't know. I mean, we can make educated guesses.
Yes.
But you'd be a fool to, in a nice way. You'd have the opportunity to learn something in your life if you were to, convince yourself that whatever you sacrifice was going to make you rich. Maybe it will, but there's absolutely no, and I really mean it. I'm not just. This is not legal gymnastics. I mean, we do not know. It's we're not the only players in this great game theory. There are other people playing the game too, and some of them are very wealthy, and they might outsmart us in the short term. Who knows? But we'll probably all get rich, so whatever, go for it. Not financial advice.
Yeah, that's really a better way to put it. And for a lot of people in the community, I think we're still all realizing and wrapping our heads around all of the new game theory and how it interacts with the other established parts, like how people are buying into HEX in order to pump their own bags for the sacrifice period. That is an interesting strategy that emerged, it seems.
Made sense. Might still make sense. It's hard to know. Once an idea becomes very popular, other ideas start to form to beat the system, so to speak. So,
yeah,
who knows? Just keep an eye on it. Don't take anything for granted, and just enjoy the ride, because nobody knows what's going to happen. But I think it's going to be a wild ride.
If I was new in HEX, I'd be complaining that there aren't any drops, but I'm weird.
Like a dip to buy it cheaper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever happened to the 60% dip in HEX?
Yeah, and I mean, 70,000 HEX is a heck of an expensive pizza. Can't we get it cheaper somehow? Oh, no, wait, then the price has to go up, so we don't have to pay as many HEX. It's so confusing. Game theory, I tell you.
But yeah, I think at the end of the day, so that's one theme to touch on, is just that some people are clicking on this stream with the expectation of talk about the sacrifice set, right? Which now we've covered to some brief extent. But the bigger idea that I wanted to touch on is, what is sacrificing in general, in terms of, well, sacrificing and altruism. That's one way that I'm making meaning in my life right now, right? Which sudden wealth syndrome is something that we've talked about, that our viewers have identified. Over 40% of people who responded to the HEX Therapy survey, which was like, I mean, that's like half the people who watched the show responded to the survey, and half of those people experienced sudden wealth syndrome. That's a lot of sudden wealth syndrome, right? And so I've kind of made that the unofficial or official theme of the show for a while here going forward, until we start to figure it all out. But I think that there's a lot to be said, not only just in the literature, right, and what that can teach us, but also what our common experience and this community can teach us. And what I see is a lot of super smart, motivated people who are wanting to give to the community, to the HEX community, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it's very rare that I come across a group of people in any of the things I'm interested in that that kind of get what the thing's about that I'm excited about. There's some cool stuff happening in the community outside of the technical understanding, and it's great. It's awesome to see. But I'm a tech guy, so that's all cool. But when I come across a bunch of other people that really seem to really get it, it's just rare. You don't. Usually, it's looking to the one or two or three leaders in the organization and listening to everything they say and hoping that you glean some edge or something. But it's just,
HEX is different. The HEX community, I mean, there are so many people in the HEX community that I look to, right? Because there are a lot of leaders involved, and there's a lot of sacrifice, right? I mean, one example, Motley the investor gave away his strategy for HEX once he realized that people were going to buy HEX to pump up their sacrifice. He gave away that strategy before he was even able to sell the property that he had to put into HEX. And so that's that's an amazing example, right, of sacrifice.
Yeah, I I don't often, I said this the other day, I don't often find myself speechless, but as soon as I start to think about all the incredible things that are going on in this community and with the projects and the way, see it's happening right now, I end up speechless because I just get overloaded. Um, it sounds crazy, like if somebody coming in new, it might even sound, oh, cultish probably isn't the right word, but the excitement is palpable.
Yes.
Because it's not based, well, there is hope, but it's just truly, the more and more you learn about it, the more and more you want to really get in behind it, because it's just crazy. And sacrifice, yeah, sacrifice and altruism, I'm not sure that they're the same thing, you know. To my mind, if you sacrifice, usually there's delayed gratification involved. You're doing it for a reason. Or you might be giving up something of your own, obviously for the benefit of others. Which, is that a sacrifice, or is that the martyr thing? It depends on the context. But it's usually for the greater good, regardless. A good that hasn't yet materialized, and so thus delayed gratification. I should read the dictionary one day because I'm just making this up as I go along. But yeah, is sacrifice necessarily pure altruism, or is it also planting a seed for the greater good in the future? Delayed gratification.
I think we're starting to stumble into like a totally new part of history where for the first time there is abundance. And so operating from an abundance mentality, I think, does create this altruism or sacrifice in a way that isn't so negative, right? Because I think,
yeah, I guess that's what I'm kind of struggling with. Yeah, because I guess I'm giving a lot. I'm not expecting. I mean, I feel like I've been paid. Those TShares keep paying me every day, so I can't imagine asking for any kind of monetary input for anything that I do in HEX, if I do anything in HEX.
and you have wrote thousands of lines of code. The wallet part that we just linked to in the TShare app was over 1,000 lines of code. Is that right?
Nice setup. 10,000.
10,000.
Yeah. The fluffy heart thing's about 3,500 lines.
Whoa, I was off by. Okay, you said I would be off by an order of magnitude.
Only one order of magnitude, though.
Okay.
I mean, if you said Bitcoin was a scam, you're off by how many orders of magnitude on top of each other, like 7 or something?
Yeah.
So only one. That's not too bad. That's not
Thanks.
too bad. Yeah, and to be fair, that's by normal project standards, that's a fairly low line count, actually. Most things I've ever developed before, they don't really start feeling like they're approaching completeness until we get around the 40 to 50,000 lines. So, but then when you're building on top of a smart contract that just is so darn genius and doesn't have any issues to work around, I guess it's just easier.
Cool. I think I know which smart contract you're referring to.
Yeah, you might. It's well, and it's really strange, this whole blockchain thing, because usually you whatever code I find myself writing, it'll be based on other libraries and standing on the shoulders of giants and using technology that was developed before me. I'd like to say before my time, but I think I was actually coding when all this stuff was first born. Way
That's
back
right.
when, 33 years ago. um, yeah, and then so you usually got to do a lot of thinking, a lot of design work around, what if the underlying layers get upgraded and changed, and what if this goes wrong or that goes wrong, but smart contracts are they don't change, right? Especially one like Hex, it's completely immutable, no admin keys. There are other issues. Like if Hex were to be on its own blockchain, for example, then it would have all kinds of issues to have to deal with, like transactions that didn't go through and accidental double spends and chain forks and all the normal stuff that happens. I
Normal
don't
stuff.
mean like intentional forks. Yeah, I mean Bitcoin and all of the blockchains actually fork routinely every day, due to the time it takes to propagate transactions across all the nodes around the world, and then they
Like an
figure it out, and
orphan
then
block thing.
yeah, well, not even that. Just like a cluster of nodes might have a chain that's one or two blocks ahead of some other chain that there's just transactions that didn't come from both sides of the world and collide in the middle, and so you know what I mean. So the chain can split momentarily, and then the network is clever enough to sort of work that out and put it back together again. But the splitting and recombining and splitting and recombining, well, it doesn't really recombine, it discards the short chain. But yeah, and that can cause transactions that you thought went through to actually not go through. If you happen to be on the short end of the stick, and there's all this stuff that goes on, and that is something to really understand about Hex. Selecting a smart contract on an existing network, on an existing blockchain, as a design choice, is because of all of that. It makes Hex just so much more reliable. You wouldn't believe it in the background.
Yes.
It doesn't have to deal with any of that stuff. The Ethereum network and soon the Pulse chain network does that. And therefore, there's no attack vector there for Hex itself. So when I first saw it, I was like, this thing's so genius. Why did he just make it a token? This thing deserves to be its own blockchain. It could be so powerful. And then, of course, I learned the first one or two things about it, and I was like, Richard, be smart. Yeah. It didn't make sense initially, and I've heard the so-called haters say similar things in the earlier days. It's like, it's just a token, and I had the exact same thought. That was my initial attitude. It's like, well, how big can it really be? It's just a token. It's not like a blockchain. But yeah, that's the thing. Worldview updates. It's far better to be a token for something that is monetizing time, because you don't know the future, so you need it to be as secure as possible.
So you and I would probably have something that is this great, Hex great. We would probably have this as our hobby, or something that we're willing to put some time into. But I think you and I both get even more purpose than that out of this, and we are getting paid by a smart contract because of our early investment, and it does seem to be an outsized return, right? Because that's the goal in crypto, is to take a somewhat risky asymmetric bet and then do really well from it, right? Is a lot of people's goal.
It's funny because it just occurred to me that I actually am kind of in it for the tech.
I know.
That's hilarious.
I get pissed. Like, when
for anyone that's listening that doesn't get that, there's this thing with other blockchains and in crypto in general where you're not allowed to talk about price, and we go to the moon and all that. It's very it's sort of scorned, and they say we're in it for the tech. It's all about the technology. It's not about getting rich. And so Hexicans sort of take the opposite approach. Of course, it's like, we say it sarcastically, I'm in it for the tech. But I kind of am. I mean, I love that it's there's a lot of different techs I could be into, right? But it's Hex because it pays me. But man, I love the technology. I just think it's the design of the technology specifically. The specific way that Hex has been designed and what it's built upon and how that all works is just truly revolutionary, actually. I mean, yes,
Yes.
Hex itself stands on the technologies that came before it, and it brings together those things to create something new. And that's a good thing. That's another thing I hear people say, well, oh, if it wasn't for Ethereum, Hex wouldn't even exist. Strange way of thinking. It's like, true, your point is, yeah, if it wasn't for the wheel, motor vehicles wouldn't exist, right? It's like, I don't get that. But anyway, um,
I'm a wheel maximalist. I don't believe
yeah,
in
well, Bitcoin.
automobiles.
Bitcoin was the same. Satoshi took a bunch of existing technology. He didn't
Yes.
invent any new nuts and bolts spanners or anything like, so to speak. He took what already existed and combined it with game theory and hit upon a bit of a genius discovery. Um, and the old what is it? The end result was more than the sum of the parts or something or other by like
Yeah.
6.5 million X or something.
Or
And Hex is
12 if
another.
we're counting the pizza
Well,
from
that's true.
yesterday.
From the pizza, yeah, instead of from a penny. That's
So,
right. And
thank
Hex
you,
builds on top of
Seek
that.
Crypto. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Cuatro Cinco, let's go.
Yeah. I know I've heard of this guy Richard, someone who I've seen on the Twitters around, in the Hex community, and someone was saying he might have sacrificed a couple of years, coming up with some part of this wonderful Hex smart contract that we're using.
Yeah,
Um,
Richard
I mean, I
is
know he's
is
definitely a
an
front guy
example.
for it, but
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah,
he's
I mean,
you know, he's an example of somebody who has created something that really is not only just the coin, but is also the community. And I think him starting from a place of having his YouTube channel be about self help, and he helped people quit smoking, quit drinking, quit gambling, quit video games, right? And I mean, there's a lot of people who have been helped by Richard before he made a bunch of people rich by inventing Hex. And so,
well, he was well liked in the Bitcoin community too, right up to the point where he started seeing that other things could do even better, and then all of a sudden not. Um, yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. It is the most bizarre event I have witnessed in my life. It could have been so great, but it so didn't happen. But here we
Bitcoin.
are. Yeah, yeah. It's but I think that also speaks to the better thing being built on top of the foundation layer, and not to be confused with layer two. Sorry, I'm getting into all this technical stuff. I can't help myself. Um, some people refer to Hex as a layer two thing. Mm, it's not. It's a layer one thing, just written really, 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 really well. Um, Save me, Maddie. I'm disappearing into an abyss of my own
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those are
technical.
good points. People are here to learn the therapy and the tech, right? And to hear this different perspective, especially what you and I are talking about, that a lot of people are feeling, right? This idea that we are excited about the tech, that Hex does deserve a Nobel Prize, right? That
Mm,
Richard has demonstrated altruism in a number of ways, right? Including donations to the Sens Foundation, being a way to onboard to Pulse, right? There's so much pay it forward psychology going on in our community. I love
yes.
that we're talking about it. I love that you and I are practicing it in our daily lives, and I love that I see so many other people doing it as well. Motley Investor, uh, who I brought up a few minutes ago, like ended up commenting here in the stream that, yeah, he's taking the money that he got from selling his property, and he's putting it into HEX, I guess tomorrow or sometime soon. So this is something that's taken weeks for him to do, although he gave away the strategy that he came up with right away. Right there are so many examples of that. We also have somebody in the chat here, Staked Wealth, who I believe released an outstanding vlog of what happened in Vegas. The coolest thing, I immediately shared it, and
the video?
Yeah, there's been a number of videos that have come out, yeah, this one was outstanding. It ended with a really, really good commercial for Pulse.
Oh, cool. So sorry, let me note this down. Who did it, and what am I looking for?
Staked Wealth.
Staked Wealth.
I've started following them on YouTube today. Let me pull up their channel. Yeah, Staked Wealth. And
yeah, I've seen several. Once people have got back home and got settled in, and they've obviously had time to set up their computers and start producing stuff from B-roll or whatever at Vegas, and they're epic, even better than watching it live. It's really cool. So keep them coming, guys. Love that stuff.
Definitely better than watching it live, because that was
uncut,
and my phone was overheating from 110-degree weather. It was just randomly stopping.
Yeah. Oh well, it was epic anyway. The whole thing was epic. Not bad for a first try, Maddie. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean,
not bad at all.
This is how I'm creating meaning, right? Is by spending my time giving to the HEX community, being impressed by everyone else who's giving, right? I couldn't have done it without the help of everybody in the community, without Discourse Syndicate, RG3, freedomtv.info, especially T-Money and his brother Lewis, right? Called in a bunch of favors to make the Vegas stuff happen. People bought tickets. People showed up, right? People got their shirts. If you haven't gotten your shirt, then DM me, preferably on Telegram. People can go to maddieall.in to see all my links and all the places you can message me, and let me know. I will mail you the t-shirt. Somewhat of a tangent, but yeah. This is all talking about how the community demonstrates altruism, pays it forward, and that's, I guess, something important that we're exploring.
Yeah, well, while we're on the topic of tangenting, I've got another one. Sort of. RG3, I think when he was up on the tank, being very passionate, the main takeaway from that sort of speech that he made, which was epic in itself.
Epic.
Yeah, but organic. That the community and everything that he's like, you made this happen. Yeah. And I've been around on the outskirts of many different communities with great hopes, different projects which probably should have done better than they did in terms of getting traction and getting popular in the zeitgeist. But in every case, they understandably and naturally are sort of led from the people that created, and they sort of do all of the promotion and everything, and the community kind of builds around it, but they're like on the tail following the central organization, which is how we humans generally do things. But by Richard so purposefully not doing that, not paying for advertising, not hiring people for PR, all that kind of thing, and yet the HEX community sprung up around whatever what we all see is the thing that is the product, right? Yes. That is not something to be taken lightly philosophically. I don't think there's really something in that. We all individually, as complete strangers, got behind a project in so many different ways, even bikinis, and made the community what it is. I struggle again for words. Is made the community what it is even the right way to put it? I mean, kind of implies that some
Yeah.
central organizer was making something, but it's hence the word organic. It's so yeah, we might be onto something, I guess. Yeah,
The community minted itself.
meant it itself. Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It's and is it just because Hex is the first and only complete product to ever exist in crypto land, as far as I know? I cannot think of another one.
yes, that's why.
I'm pretty sure that's why.
Yes.
Because when you realize it's complete, right? That there's truly no expectations then. I mean, the things on the blockchain, there's no admin keys. It can't be changed. If it's not complete, too bad, because it is what it is. And therefore, we don't have to rely on anybody for anything. And that just becomes like the massive aha. You can get behind something that you know is not going to change. Who cares how well it performs? Maybe it only performs great and not insanely great. I'll take it. I'll take it.
We've heard that before. That's what Bitcoiners say.
What did they say?
They say that Bitcoin is the end all be all.
Nah, you're pulling my chain. Come on.
Robert Breedlove and Michael Saylor talk about how
Oh, those guys.
Bitcoin's technology is the ultimate, and if anything more ultimate comes along, then they'll just incorporate it.
Yeah, but what about the people inside the crypto community? They wouldn't be saying anything like that. Those guys, they just tack themselves on later on. I mean, surely.
Sure, yeah, surely.
I mean, nah.
No,
that
I
ain't
mean,
crypto.
it's yeah. This, so even though the narrative has already been played out, this time it's true, right? There's a difference between having a response to everything that people could say, every question, every criticism, right? There's a difference between having words and flapping your lips versus having code that's complete and done and locked in 2019. And good luck making a time machine to go back and change it, because then you would just fork reality. I mean,
Maybe that's what happened. Because when I was around near the beginning of Bitcoin and reading the white paper and getting all excited, and we were launching into a brand new experiment. And there was a lot of philosophizing and all sorts of stuff going on and looking to the future. And every day someone was coming up with a new idea, and we were talking about what if this and what if that. I mean, it was anything but the be all and end all. We were building it. And then the building stopped. And so I don't know, wandered away and found something else to work on for the future. And didn't get far. And then Richard said, well, I'll tell you what, you guys, since you're all bloody hopeless, someone's got to do this. So I will. And luckily, he's a freaking genius. That's now very evident. And
or the building continued and it's just going by a different name.
Yeah, the developers just all went somewhere else and worked on building other things, and built the thing that Hex is built on.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that.
Wasn't
Bitcoin that did that.
My point is that to the layperson who doesn't know any of this technical stuff, Hex is more of what Bitcoin is, right? That they know about. Hex is a more true form of Bitcoin than Bitcoin is.
From a philosophical point of view, absolutely, definitely. And from a technical view, I mean, duh. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's built on the thing that was built by the people that were trying to build Bitcoin and got shut out. I mean, how you can, I don't understand how anyone could take that natural history and turn it around and go, doesn't matter because Bitcoin's still the be all and the end all. It's like we voted a new president in, but it doesn't matter because Mother Teresa is who I follow. It's like, okay.
Haven't you heard? HEX is a scam.
Yeah.
It was given free to Bitcoin holders. It's a
Yeah.
scam.
I understand why people think that, though. I mean, how long have we had now? I mean, the ICO thing in 2017, then CryptoKitties, NFTs, all exciting things from a technical point of view, but just so misrepresented and corrupt and not decentralized, and just don't get it. It reminds me of the early days of the internet when we were out there trying to sell modems to people, to businesses, and they're like, well, so what you're trying to tell me is it's a new way to send a fax? It takes time for people to understand, and it's a whole new paradigm.
Good thing we made a tool to stop them from understanding so they could get in sooner.
Yeah, it's all about the fluffy hearts, actually.
That's right.
And we were the first to figure that out. You heard it here.
Yeah, I mean, it's another way to help people, to help connect people to something so brand new and so mind-boggling that it's hard to explain without people having red flags going up. Even the simple explanation of, longer pays better, 40% APY. Whoa,
what?
Whoa.
Oh, man, goodness, 40%.
Right?
I was around in the 87 crash, the first crash. Well, not the second crash. I guess you got to include the World War ones, which I was not around for, thank goodness. But, nothing. I mean, interest rates were going insane. But they didn't get that crazy. 40%? No. Can't believe it. Not happening.
Not possible.
Not happening.
Ponzi.
Not possible. I mean, you would have to have some kind of crazy system that was like only around 4% so that people could swallow it as technically plausible, and then have some shifty sort of a thing where only certain people actually got some of that 4%, and so they end up getting 10 times more somehow, and then maybe you could get 40%, right? I don't know.
I mean,
someone should build that.
So this is how you and I work, by the way. We talked about this earlier, but
I talk total shit.
This is happening live. I think let's
and
go
Maddie
with that.
Rationalize this.
Let's go with that. So people get paid 4% APY, and then it gets locked up for them, and they get it later on.
Yeah, well, maybe only the people that do lock it up should get it, though. But then what do the other people get? So, like, if only 10%, say, of all the people that could have locked up their HEX actually got the 4%, then what do you do with the other 90% of the 4%? So you just give it away, or you could give it to the people that locked up as sort of a reward, like a multiplier.
Sure. So I understand you're describing HEX.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is you could lie to people and tell them that they're only getting 4%, and then, like, surprise, you're getting 40%.
Well, you could tell the truth. You don't need to lie. You could say that when you stake your HEX, you receive a proportion of 4% annual inflation. What, only 4%? Yes, only 4. Well, 3.69%. It's not even 4%. So we're even exaggerating a little.
But the price can go up and down, so it's not that good of a deal. You ready to sign up? That sort of thing?
So, sorry, what were we talking about?
Talking about
can I just get a fluffy heart?
Yeah, sure.
I came for the fluffy heart.
Claw game and insert $50, and then I'll keep explaining later, right?
Yeah. But that's the thing. So when everyone I've told, hey, look, it's paying me, like, in some cases actually 60% APY.
Facts.
Some of my Cuatro Cinco stakes, right? And you show that to people and they go, well, that's stupid, that's impossible, that's unsustainable. And then you go, oh, well, really, it's only 3.69%. And then they go, okay, you really are crazy.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Yes.
And then luckily, Um, there's other people that aren't. I can only talk in technical terms. I'm either making stupid jokes that make no sense to even myself, or trying to talk technical. That's how I cope in this crazy world. But luckily, there's other people that can actually rationalize these things, and that's why we need community, because the tech people, yeah.
We need
Giddy
all
with
types.
excitement. I don't know how to deal with giddy excitement. I'm supposed to be an Asperger's computer programmer, straight face, like kind of a dude. Always used to be. Now
HEX
I don't know.
complicates things, doesn't it?
It does. It's a problem. I need like a therapist or something. Holy crap.
Oh wow.
But I can't afford one.
Well,
Oh yes, I can, but I'm not going to pay.
we have an abundance of HEX therapy for people, and I'm not sure if it's the HEX is the therapy or therapy is duct taped on to the HEX. People accused me of duct taping it on until they started realizing that, oh, maybe it is built in. Maybe he wasn't just saying all the stuff he likes in one sentence.
Well, when hypothetically speaking, if you were somebody who didn't know about stake ladders because you were like, one of the early people to get in, and so all you had was 15-year stakes, and you could see mathematically that it was very clear that you were almost certainly going to be like a billionaire or something or other, but you can't touch any of it, and you already say, oh, I don't know, 50 years old or something like that, and you're thinking, so I'm super wealthy, but I'm not, but I am. I can't work this out. This is Maddie. How do we cope?
And we're live.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's real. Seriously though, it's real. The sudden wealth thing. I scoffed at it. I thought, no, not in a horrible negative way, but I was like, yeah, whatever. As if sudden wealth's ever gonna be a problem for me. I mean, I get it. People win $135 million. It screws their life up. Yeah, I get it. I really get it. I didn't get it. I'm not even that rich, but man, it changes things.
Well, I always said I wanted to program mental health into money, and then I said, oh, HEX does that. And now it's like you and I are working on stuff, I think, that will help with sudden wealth syndrome. Specifically, the reason why I think that is because TShare App will help people onboard their loved ones, the ones that maybe don't want to understand what money is, don't want to hear the negative story of everything you've been working for your whole life is a scam, and this thing that sounds like a scam, it's going to save you, right? Like, just get them in there.
Relatively speaking, that's almost actually literally true, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's a bummer. That's a sad story. And people don't act on sad stories normally unless there's a bunch of anxiety and like negative stuff pent up with it. So the new story here is, hey, somebody who did well in HEX, it's me, right? To all the people in your personal life. And then share TShare.app, maybe along with the testimonial video of yourself and other people. And then all of a sudden, now you have people in your personal life who are going to start experiencing HEX. They're going to eventually understand it. And then you're going to be in good company because you're going to have the community that you've contributed to. You've helped to build the community by bringing 2 or 3 new people into HEX, right? In the next couple days, right? That's all it takes. TShare.app is able to onboard people in seconds or minutes, depending how many of them you're counting. And then you have community for 5, 10, or 15 years.
And it's good to have the first of these kinds of tools because my personal experience when I go to try and onboard somebody, it's like, oh, here comes Future again with some crazy idea he's overly excited about that we'll never understand. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Talk to the hand. And it's hilarious to me that you start thinking of things to say like, well, you're better off if you just don't understand it. Just get in. And then you think, well, that sounds awfully scammy. But,
Yes.
but it's true.
Yes. There is no way to efficiently explain how amazing Hex is in order to onboard people. This is one of the major problems of why we haven't gone viral. It's too good.
It's
too good to believe. It's too good to be true.
Yeah.
Change my mind. I'll wait.
Well, it's a sign of the times, really, because when you really get down into exactly how the thing's designed and theorize about the game theory that's been built into it, as well as the stuff that's obvious about the game theory that's been built into it, once you're able to dedicate the ridiculous amount of time to getting your head wrapped around it, even though it's so simple, it's actually complex, but it's simple. But at the end of the day, really, to my view, HEX, the contract, encapsulates economics accurately the way it naturally plays out in human society since Adam, or Adam's cricket. But I guess we're just so not used to just pure Keynesian economics nowadays with debt-based society and all that other kind of stuff that all we see is confusion because we don't get it because this isn't how we were raised. I wouldn't be surprised if someone in the 1700s or 1800s, if you sat down and just explained how it works, put humans and organizations in place of the computer code so you don't totally blow their mind, they'd probably look at you and go, and that's the way the world works.
Yeah.
That's how economics works. HEX just does that, but takes away the middlemen and the people that can make changes and screw it up and print money out of thin air. HEX prints money out of thin air. 3.69% of all the HEX that was ever minted previously each year on an ongoing basis. But it's 3.69%. It's not 100%. And that's the difference between a healthy economy and a not healthy economy, right?
Right.
You need to print money because money gets lost, money gets burned, goes through the washing machine. That used to be a thing when it was made out of paper. Now it's made out of plastic, thank goodness.
Accidentally.
So you have to at least
words.
replace that, right? Yeah. Well, then you just lose your money. It's still there. It's just removed from circulation, so price go up. Game theory. Don't lose your seeds. Yeah.
Unless you're a giant whale, and then...
Well, you can come visit me and accidentally drop them.
Sure.
And I'll be sure to let you know that I found a piece of paper. You can trust me.
It is the heart of economics, and I love that Stake to Wealth, when they created the commercial at the end of Pulse, they said that HEX or Pulse is the heart of DeFi. I think that's an amazing tagline, right?
See what they did there.
The heart of DeFi, because it is.
It is.
Period. And
show me. I mean, Uniswap up to version 2 would be the only other thing I can think of that qualifies in my mind as true DeFi.
And then they went and took money from Andreessen Horowitz.
And added admin keys.
They took money, venture capital,
I heard about that.
Stuff on top, doing airdrops. Sure, we love our airdrop because we converted it to HEX and now it's like 200K or something.
I kind of miss all that stuff because I'm too busy just reading the contract code and how it works.
It's 70K now, right?
Okay.
Each Uniswap airdrop that people got, and it's in HEX terms, but it's.
But we saw this as a technologist. I saw this whole thing play out in the internet. Like just to put some context of where I'm coming from, when I first got into computers, if you weren't at a university or somewhere like that, the only way you could have a computer was to buy the individual microchips and things and solder them together yourself. So technically my first computer was one of those, and it could flash a light on and off, and it took months to get it working, and I was happy with that.
Wow.
Yep. Because we didn't have a lot of, we weren't poor, but having a computer was a big luxury when I was like 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. That was about when I was 13, 14 years old.
Respect.
And yeah, well, if you're obsessive about something, right, all it takes is time. But thank you. We didn't have the internet. I had to get on my bike and go down to what we called the Polytechnic Library in our small town where there was no university, and beg to be let in, even though I wasn't supposed to be in there, so that I could get access to some of the books about this technology to try and figure out what was up. And I was lucky to stumble on a book that was basically teaching how microprocessors work on the inside, or not even microprocessors, really just computer processors, right? They were whole cabinets full of circuit boards back in those days. So no internet. Had to build your own darn computer. This is around about the time the Apple computer was becoming a thing, but we didn't know about that because, again, no internet, right? Because I'm like 2,000 miles away from where that was all happening. Where was I going with all this? Right. So eventually along comes the internet, like 1995. So that was 12 years after my first computer. We used to dream. We used to go, and I say we, I mean me and like the one or two other people I knew that that were older than me, by the way. They were like 20 years older than me, because none of my, I was just obsessed with this stuff. But we used to talk about how, wouldn't it be cool if computers could sort of like talk to each other? We're like, what do you mean, like have a conversation? No, just like move data from one computer to another on their own without having to take a disk and transport it and move it in. Yeah, that would be cool. What would you do with it, though? I don't know. Seems like something we should do. I'm not joking.
Wow.
And then the personal computers came out, right? Where you could start getting a computer on a desk in your office that wasn't an entire room, that came with part of the air conditioning system to heat your building. That's where the whole thing really got launched, and with the Apples, and then IBM kind of came in late, but they sort of really kicked the thing off with the IBM compatibles. And we had those for a few years, and computers still couldn't talk to each other. We had modems that you could dial up on the telephone and connect to bulletin boards. That was an amateurish kind of hacker kind of a thing that we were doing. But a business computer sitting on a desk in an office could not talk to the other business computer sitting on the other desk in the same office. The only way to get data between those things was on a floppy disk. And then, but what did we call it? I think we called it peer-to-peer networking or some darn thing. With these network cards, you could. No, this is long before the internet. So you could get these network cards.
Okay.
Yeah, but yes, but before that was a thing. Up until that point, the only computer systems that were connected together were like university to university kind of a deal, ARPANET. And all of that, with massive funding behind it, all spurred on by the idea that an atomic bomb could wipe out a whole city, so we need a network that can connect the whole country together, blah, blah, blah. And I say we, I mean you lot, because I was over here hoping and praying you all didn't screw it up. Thank you, by the way, talking about the Cold War thing. Anyway.
Don't mention it.
No, well done. Dodged a bullet. So then this new craze of being able to sell a company not one computer but two computers, because now you could afford to have a larger hard drive where you could store more data on without having to mess with these floppy disks. And instead of having to buy two hard disks for like $2,000 a piece for 20 megabytes, you could just have one, and then this computer can magically access the same data on this other computer. Wow, what a concept. But there was no software that could handle it, right? So like we had that, but I'm using the spreadsheet, so you can't, all right? Because I've got the file open. You can use the spreadsheet, but don't open the A file, right? Yeah, I'll tell you when I'm done. So, so yeah, we had, and the stories just go on and on. But where I was trying to go with this was in the early days of the internet, people would start to get it. They'd say, "Oh, so we could do this, we could do that," and it would be like one step forward, and then an organization would form around some new technology that you could do with the internet, and then it would. I can't think of any direct examples. Well, AOL, probably a good example, didn't sort of get what the internet was. But they predate the internet, and then when they were a massive bulletin board sort of a thing, and the internet came along, and they kind of tried to just use the internet to do the thing they were already doing. Like, oh, so you can like send a fax through the internet kind of a thing. And there was a lot of this scrambling around trying to really understand what this technology could do. And I still clearly remember going, maybe one day we'll be able to have those video phone type things using the internet. Yeah, not in your lifetime, pal. Do you know how much bandwidth that would require? Yeah, about 100th of what we have today. So, but yeah, so people would kind of start to get it, and they'd build all this other stuff on it that was really just taking the old world and giving it a new coat of paint, and weren't doing anything really new.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then every now and again something would pop out like Bitcoin. Rarely, and then of course it takes ages for people to really understand what that's about. And I see that's what's actually happened with Bitcoin is it attracted the attention of people that wanted to make money, and they know about making money because they know the old way of doing it, and so they kind of fudged the whole Bitcoin thing into that old system of doing things and called it digital gold. And here we are, which is fine, but they didn't get it, right? They didn't get it. They didn't get smart contracts. Vitalik was writing articles and was part of the Bitcoin community trying to get the other devs interested in expanding the what they call the opcode set, the number of and type of instructions that can be executed within the Bitcoin chain, so that things like smart contracts could happen. And but that didn't seem to make any sense for number go up or something. I guess I don't know. So Ethereum had to be born, and the rest is history. But so HEX to me is another sort of watershed moment like that, where
Yes.
it's just another computer. It used to be it's just another computer. It's just another word processor. It's just another whatever. I mean, Microsoft Windows didn't exist once. And when it came out, we all laughed because compared to the other graphical interfaces that were around at the time, it was a joke. But I guess old Billy had a vision, and he got it. And so here we are today. And HEX it's just one of those things that will take time to really understand the ramifications. Even programmable money. Program the money, they
Yes.
said. Well, the money hasn't been programmed very much. We've taken contracts and things that can take value and move it from this place to that place, and number go up, number go down, and all that kind of thing. But there's nothing really novel about that other than the fact that it's decentralized, which is no small thing.
So
But HEX is genuine programmed money. It's like it is a sovereign currency running on a computer program.
the thing that's novel about programmable money that I think people will understand someday is this idea that you can pay yourself. And because it's a bearer asset, but also you can put rules on top of it that allows us in HEX to program savings into the equation. And then I hope in the future to be able to work with brilliant people such as yourself
Oh, come on.
to behavior lock money, which saving money is a behavior, right? And so HEX is the first example, but to use HEX as a way to allow people to increase their motivation just as they would if they were being externally paid, but an internal payment with the amount of motivation or contingencies that are available externally, that is an emergent property, I believe, of programmable money, something that never existed before. So paying yourself.
Yep. HEX to me is the first example of the first use case that takes the idea of programming the money and making it into a thing that actually is a thing that isn't just, so we can send faxes over this internet thing. It's not just the same old thing we always used to do, but now the computer does it for us. I mean, one way I try to explain what HEX is to a no-coiner, someone who just has heard of crypto but has no idea what it is or how it really works.
I call them new coiners.
New coiners, that's much better.
New coiner.
New coiner. Good one. I'd say think of it as if a new country was formed somewhere on the planet. Like they carved out some land and they did all the political nonsense you have to do, and they were able to form a brand new country. Apparently this actually happens on a relatively routine basis.
HEX clips, this is going to be good.
Yeah. Oh, now you've done it. So the country has, they say, okay, we're the HEX country, and our currency is called HEX. It's denominated in subunits we call hearts, and that's just what it is. Now, what's so great about our country? Well, we build these kinds of factories, we have this kind of community, we have these kinds of laws, these kinds of values, this kind of everything else. And you can see that we're producing things, and they're really cool stuff you want to buy. Yes, cool, sweet. So we export, and all the things a country does, GDP, all that kind of a thing. But the government of this particular country is a computer that is running a program, like the central bank, if you like, or the Fed, so to speak, is this computer program that's running, and it can never ever be changed. Can't be changed. Could be good, could be bad, who knows, but it cannot be changed. Well, as an investor outside of this country going, well, I need a safe place to store my funds. If this is true, that this currency is locked in and can't just be, inflated beyond whatever, or devalued, or can't even be nationalized. If I put all my money there, there's no code in the contract that can nationalize my money, and it's not my money anymore. That seems like a place I want to store my money. That's the best place I can see in the whole wide world. And so the HEX contract is a digital embodiment of a sovereign currency, yes, owned by and controlled by mathematics. And Bitcoin, we all dreamed Bitcoin would be that, and it could have been that, we thought, but there's people in the world who didn't want it to be that, and so it didn't become that. But it laid the grounds for the technology that came about, that had an emergent thing that became HEX, that is that. And that is epic. Yes. I can't understate how incredibly epic that is. That it has achieved that milestone, and it's the first that has done that with no admin keys. There's been a lot that have done similar things, but they've had admin keys, and they've started out maybe okay, had some problems, and so they've been tweaked, and then it's anyone's guess. And there's plenty of those running successfully still today, but who knows? But we know that the HEX code is not going to change. Sorry, I keep shaking my camera around. And that's never been done before. Economics has never been put together in a smart contract that is in any form that is immutable before. It never has. And so whenever you hear anybody go, well, HEX is just a token on the Ethereum network, how good could it be? It's not just a smart contract on the Ethereum network. It is a smart contract that is on the Ethereum network, and it is immutable, and it does what it does, and it just so happens to have been very, very well designed. And how do we know it was well designed? Up and to the right. If it went down and to the left, I don't know. maybe we'd make another immutable smart contract and have another go. But what do you know? This one's pretty darn good.
That's right. That's right. And I think
and that's how I try to onboard people. Is anyone still awake?
Yeah, like, so what do I do with my debit card number? Like,
yeah, right. See? So, yeah. Anyway. Right place, right time.
So even more than being an immutable currency, right? Something that's sovereign something that exists for the first time.
Well, people want to move to this country. They want to live there. It's a cool place to live, right?
Well,
as well.
People think that they want to live there and they think it's pretty good. And then they move their economic energy there, right? And then a lot of times they find out it's even better than they thought. And then they get inspired at some point to buy their freedom and then to give back. And that's what I think is another huge force in the HEX community and the HEX reality that has been created by this new thing that never existed before. This programmable money. It's got stakeholders, and the stakeholders, I mean, something could go wrong in HEX, and on average, there's a bunch of smart people who are already locked in for the next 6 years, so we got 6 years to figure out what to do about it.
The stakers really are a very, very close analogy, analog, I guess is the right word to me, for the citizens of the country, the people that migrate there and start producing things. And that's the giving back, building things in the community, coming up with new ways to onboard and spread the whole thing. They're the citizens that operate under the law, the LORE law of this sovereign currency, right? We stakers, we are excited to live where we live, and we want to produce things and make this country of ours. Because the country is not the sovereign currency. The country is the people that live there. It just so happens that the currency is set up in some solid way that can't be corrupted, which is one of the great reasons for living there. But the other reason we want to live in this country is because there's a lot of other cool people that live here, people that get it, people that understand value, people that don't like to be devalued over time through, endless printing of funds and all the rest of it. It's
facts.
People
who don't like corruption, people who like altruism, right?
Sounds like a cult. Hell, maybe it is a cult. I don't know. But it is facts, which is just what a cult would say.
Yeah, but there's math. There's code.
True. Yeah, it's always nice to have reality to fall back on.
Yes.
I mean, if you're going to be a cult, you should probably be one that can fall back on reality to get your message across. I don't know. It's but it's new. So yeah, if anyone has difficulty really understanding it, it's because it literally has not existed before.
Yes.
Period. It has not.
And it's so different than the monetary environment that people currently live in, right? This unhealthy monetary environment, this, fix the money, fix the world idea. Yeah, the world needs fixing because the money needs fixing because it's being inflated so much for centralized selfish purposes. And so this new thing that exists, so one of the things that occurred to me as I was thinking deeply about all this is that in reality, okay, so I'm not sure if the fiat system, the debt-based system, I'm not sure if I should call that reality or not, right? But that's in that system. When you have savings, you are destroying the monetary supply, right? We on the same page there?
Yep.
And so it almost makes me wonder if balances in HEX
circulating supply
or like T-shares or whatever should be really kind of looking at money almost in a negative way because but that's probably too abstract for people. And
no, well, it's just that The only way you can get wealthy in any economics, if you want to get wealthy just as a pure cardinal, my number bigger than your number kind of a way, purely monetarily speaking, is to have the money moving around so that you can be there to grab some of it when it comes past. We talk about the velocity of money. If transacting's not going on, then how are you going to get the money? Conversely, if nobody's saving and everybody's spending all of the time, then who's getting rich? Well, the person who is saving and isn't spending money all the time. But if everybody did that, then the money wouldn't move anywhere. And so no one would have any money to save. And so no one would be rich, right? So this is a balance. This is a balance in economics. And humans,
Yes.
we've always, so that currency sucks. So now we were using coconuts. Now we're going to use shells off the beach. We just route around it as a market. But when there's only one monetary market, and the people that own it and control it are trying to fix its problems all the time, and one solution to certain kinds of problems is to just print more of it, and they can. So they do. They kind of kick a can down the road or whatever, and that's great. So, it's not. If God forbid the American US dollar was, as opposed to the English US dollar, if the US dollar was to crash, and we had to route around that, and I don't know, go to Athens and see how their currency's getting on now, we all would. It would be tragic. It would be bloody terrible. And I don't think it'll happen, just for the record. But you don't know. You don't know. So you come back to this idea of paying your future self. You've not been able to say that ever before. The closest we've ever come to that is a trust or some legal entity.
Yeah.
Where you have to trust that the system's working, right? But what legal entity that is a trust that maintains finances can survive and stand by the charter, the deed, in a system where the economy around them is crumbling because the rules changed overnight? So we could never say pay your future self before, actually. You could say you can invest, save a little for a rainy day. All those things made sense. But if you said pay your future self, it'd be like, well, yeah, if nothing goes wrong and there's no wars, famines, and blah, 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 blah. So that's new.
Well,
couldn't do that before.
In my mind, it almost takes continuous effort or continuous force, let's say, to not spend money if it's not immutably locked away from yourself. That gets back to paying yourself is different than...
But that didn't exist before either.
Exactly.
You do a term deposit at the bank, and you're in it for 2 years, and that's that. You have a bond or whatever. And then one day you just ask your lawyer to call them up because you want to buy a new doodad. You've seen a jet boat that you really like or something or other, and you say, just call the bank and tell them we've got a family emergency. Please put it in writing. Thank you. And you got your money back.
Yes.
It's not immediately like. So that never existed before.
Yes.
Either.
And
so you couldn't pay your future self.
Saving was like a continuous behavior because you could always break the plan that you had. But with HEX, you can make a plan yourself and have to stick to it. There's no way out. And that's just such a weird thing. It sounds, the best way to put it is you can save yourself from yourself, right? And that's...
Or you can make a plan that's actually solid that you don't have to continually maintain and keep a schedule to look after it and see that it's going according to plan, and maybe there's a better deal around now, or you just that's the finality of knowing that there is an immutable contract that will do X, Y, Z exactly today, tomorrow, 1,000 years from now, theoretically speaking. And no one is going to mess that up. Yeah, even as I say it, even though I know all of the systems built upon systems that has produced this phenomenon, it's still hard to believe. What do you mean?
I think
no one can change it.
I think there's more for us to understand. I think I think we don't yet
No,
understand hex
I agree. When the
to
world
the
gets something that it's never had before, like not even emulated before, it's got to change things, right?
yes.
World before the wheel, after the wheel, before fire, after fire.
Well, so the wheel is an interesting case. There's an expression, don't reinvent the wheel. But the actual history I wrote in an article that I wrote before I started live streaming is that the wheel existed for about 300 years before anybody got the idea to use it for more than pottery.
Yeah. And they tended to be made out of stone as well, so they had limited use anyway. But yeah, but when the philosophy of what you might be able to do with a wheel, other
Yes.
than using it for pottery, started to, and I guess what did that take? Some people that had a little bit more time to think, because maybe they didn't have to do so much hunter-gathering stuff to survive now, so they
Not
got to
so
think
much
about it.
pottery.
Yeah. Uh,
They bought their freedom with a pottery wheel, and then then they're like, all right, we got so many wheels. Now let's pump around bags, come up with another use case, right?
yeah.
And
And
sure enough,
and learning,
transportation, right? Like
yeah,
is when the wheel is regarded as a great invention for that, but it literally had to be reinvented or understood at a more deep level in order to reach its ultimate use case.
for sure. Its ultimate use case. You mean like the high-speed spindles and the Raptor rocket engines that are going to take us to Mars? The little wheels that spin around at like 320,000 RPM or something.
Of course.
That's what I thought. I was just checking. When we learned to wield fire, I wonder if cooking was the first thing we actually did with it, or whether it was going and burning down the little
Burning people.
straw houses of the villages next door because they were competing with us to find the food. You know, we learned how to control something as amazing as fire, amazing at the time because we didn't have it before, but we didn't understand its potential and what we could do with it yet.
That's
Did
right.
I mention the Raptor rocket that's going to take us to Mars?
There's a comment here. For pottery wheels, birth of the Lambosaurus.
Yes. Mm.
So,
Oh dear.
so I have a question. Is staking hex a wormhole?
Mm. Time machine I can get behind. Wormhole. I don't know. No, I'm going to say no.
No?
No.
But you think it's a time machine?
Yeah. I could maybe, you could maybe stretch me to the event horizon of a black hole as opposed to a wormhole per se, because the information sort of goes in there, never to be seen again, except for Hawking radiation. Am I taking your question literally, perhaps?
I mean, yeah. So there's the scientific side of things, and then there's the layperson side of things, right? So, like,
Oh, educate me, please.
if we're helping people to understand this new topic of sending money to your future self, like, is it within the public Rubicon to talk about wormholes as being, you drop money into it and then it pops out someplace in the future? I mean,
Yeah, but a wormhole, the concept of a wormhole is to go from a place in 3D space to another place in 3D space, plus or
but this
minus
is
time, maybe.
that's 4D. It's just
No, that's 3D.
so okay.
What are we looking
Okay.
for here, Maddie? You're the boss, but you
There's
have
a
to tell us what it
video-
is you want.
There's a video imagining the 10th dimension, and it helps us understand lower dimensions and higher dimensions, and I don't understand it all, but I want to.
Okay. Would you like it to be a wormhole?
I would like it to. Yeah, I mean, Wormhole.
Staking.
That's a good brand. Sure.
Yeah,
That's
staking is
easier to market than an Event Horizon.
come come and on board with us into Hex, where you get to throw your money into a wormhole and it pops out
Yes.
somewhere else.
Yes.
Yeah, it could work.
Exactly.
Could work. Could do that. Or what's your next great idea?
PayPal in the fourth dimension.
PayPal in the fourth dimension. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're up against that wall again, aren't we? It's new. We couldn't even conceptualize of a thing that that could exist where you can pay your future self literally before, right? Because it was always like set a plan in motion that, if well managed by trustworthy people, should result, if the entire legal and financial fabric of the
Yeah.
world maintains itself, and you're getting something down the road that was more than what you put in. Now it's like, I have Hex, I stake, I get more. What's for dinner?
Steak.
Eggs.
And so, yeah, another thing I wanted to tell you is I was trying to think of what's the simplest thing that we could add that would be the coolest thing for TShare app. And so I wanted to run an idea by you.
Less is more, he said, looking at his.
Go
for it.
How difficult would it be to add like a badge for somebody doing a Quattro Cinco?
You see what he did there, audience? Rather than saying, would you do this, please? He appealed to my sense of wanting to be egotistically superior to my fellow man and asked me, how difficult would it be? So I need to go, oh man, I can do anything. What was it again? Sorry.
Quattro Cinco badge.
Oh, I already had that idea. I'm sure a lot of other people in chat had that idea too, because we all seem to be on the same page. It's an amazing community. I was going to make a separate site I was going to pitch to you that was actually called quattrocinco.club. And when you go there, you can get yourself one of them newfangled NFT things, right? You connect your wallet and it goes, oh, you have Quattro Cinco stake. Here is your certificate.
I love it.
And if you don't have one, then this app has a button. I said a button. And what does this button do? You press this button, and MetaMask pops up and says, would you like to confirm that you're going to stake your entire balance of HEX that is in this particular account for 555 days? And you go, yeah, bro. And you confirm it. And you know what happens next? You get one of the newfangled NFT things that comes up and says, you're an official member of Quattro Cinco.
Yeah.
And then there'll be some paragraph trying to explain wormholes underneath that, I guess. Yeah. Well, what do you think of that? I mean, we could add it to TShare.app, or we could make new apps. quattrocinco.tshare.app. Go here, press button. Now you're a member of the club. And we could do one for accountants too that was like, like a spreadsheet with numbers everywhere that you can play with. And what happens if I do this? And what happens if I do that? And all that kind of thing. Just to keep them occupied.
Yeah, I mean, another interesting thing would be to add some sort of like variability or difficulty to the game, because right now there's definitely 3 or 4 ways that you can play it in the sense of you can stake 500 hex for 5, 10, 15, or 0 years. And so that creates like a 4 ring ladder that's pretty cool to start somebody out with. But then the game there's no other dimension to it. And so it'd be interesting if there was a way to.
So I guess you're thinking at it from the point of view of people coming back and reusing the game again and again and again to stake 5, 10, or 15. Yeah, I never saw it. I never saw it as a thing to evolve like that, but I guess it could.
So it's like
Don't
depending on
know.
how fast you do it, like unlocks that you're able to stake a few days longer.
But it just,
Something weird.
I
You need
want
to
to
keep
keep
it
it,
simple.
I want to keep it
Keep it
really
simple.
simple and have it sort of, have it be fun and yet meaningless. It's a nice sort of juxtaposition to get the mind into the, what the hell is this? Instead of like, convince me it ain't a scam. That's its real job, I think.
Correct.
That,
Yes.
so anything that detracts from that may not be a good path. I mean, I've had tons of ideas. I'm sure you have too. Of,
Yes.
making the game more fun, but then it becomes about the game itself instead of the purpose of the app, which is to
Okay.
just
So
reframe a
we'll
person's
we'll
mind.
get
That's my
people.
opinion.
Yeah, we'll get people to move on to the exciting community that exists. Maybe.
What I'm really hoping is that some other devs will come along and take this crazy idea and come up with a bunch of ideas of their own, and
Yes.
we'll have competition for for
Yes.
funky, cool, crazy, not thought of before ways of onboarding that don't involve people like me trying to explain how ones and zeros work and work my way up to Ethereum and into smart contracts, and yeah,
Well,
that'd be cool.
so far I've seen you sacrifice a lot of hours and a lot of energy to make TShare.app a reality. I see the community probably appreciating TShare.app in a way that not everybody realizes yet. And so, yeah, I
Well,
definitely want to
just so long
thank
as,
you.
yeah, well, you're welcome. But just so long as you remember that I only did it because I wanted to. There was no other reason. You may think you twisted my rubber arm and talked me into it, but ultimately, you just made me. I mean, I wanted to do it.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, on my own accord. I would have done it anyway, even if you weren't around, Maddie. I would have. Because I'm an island.
Yeah. It's because it's. So tell
No, I
me more
wouldn't.
about that. Tell me more.
Well, that is a thing called sarcasm. My mother said sarcasm is the lowest form of wit. And I said, so it's the easiest then? Cool, I'm down. And then I grew up and didn't change a thing. I'd already done what was called HEX Mob. How long have you got? I wrote the HEX Mob thing. Do you want to do this now? Is this what you want? You want me to? I've already talked so much. He looks at the clock. Do you
So
want
we
to know
have
how HEX Mob came about in less than 5 minutes? I guess I can.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. Well, you watch the clock. If I got a clock, it's 14.
And you're
18.
you're crushing it. You're crushing this interview.
Am I? Oh, it's
I
an
know.
interview now.
I know sometimes it's hard to like tell how you're doing when, at least for me, when we're live. But the more experience I've gotten, I can definitely say you're crushing it today.
I'm crushing it.
Yes.
I'll get a second opinion from chat if I can remember to look down there. Okay, HEX Mob, which is now go.tshare.app with a new funky candy neon color scheme. That's Maddie. I kind of like it too. Actually, it's cool. It's not techy. It's not professional. It's just sort of fun, somewhere in the middle. I quite like it. That I love the way that came about. But so HEX Mob was me going, okay, so this hex thing is a thing. I've read the contract code. I've spent like a week trying to understand the parts that I don't understand, and I think I finally understand it, and it excites me. And I'm a kind of a dev, part-time dev, sort of computer geek kind of a guy. So I think I need to have a tool in my toolkit where I can say, yeah, I can write programs for blockchain and smart contracts and stuff. And I couldn't do that at the time. So I thought, well, I need to write something for HEX. Like what? I have no idea. Let's just, I don't know, go.hex.com at the time didn't seem to work too well on mobile. It's much better now. It was kind of a desktop sort of a thing going on. So I thought, I'll do that. I mean, that's what it is, right? It's a smart contract. It has these functions, and what else can you do with it? So I just thought, oh. So I was like, well, how does one go about that? So I got on Google and what is the current popular programming thing for web apps? Because last time I checked, it was something completely different 6 months before. And at the time I did the lookup, it was a toss up between a thing called Angular and React, and I took React because I wasn't a big organization that had to organize things in that way, and so I learned that, and through doing that, I was obviously forced to learn the practical ways in which you actually communicate with the smart contract and so forth. And that was supposed to be all. But we were still just coming out of winter at the time, and I wasn't very well, so I found myself in bed quite a bit. And so I just tinkered around, and before I knew it, I had something that I could dare show one of my friends and say, hey, what do you think of this? And then, yeah, it was a learning tool. It was just a learning tool, and it was never supposed to go anywhere. In fact, one day I came on the HEX dev Telegram and just said, just double checking that no one's using this HEX mob thing that I put up because I'm going to shut it down. And one person, and I think I might know who that person was, but under a pseudonym, said, don't do that. I use it. One person. And so I didn't take it down. And then some other stuff happened, and I found myself in some strife and needing to reach out to someone in the community. Maddie seemed like someone that wouldn't shoot me down in flames, and so I reached out, which I've never done before, ever, and here we are.
Yeah. And so you basically combined all of the code that you had already written, for the purpose of educating yourself and
yeah. So you talked about
others.
What you wanted to do with well, we didn't call it Tshirt app then. It was an idea. It went through all kinds of other names and everything. But yeah. So when I saw what you were doing and what your motivation was and what you hoped to achieve, and we seemed to find common ground, I was like, well, hey, I wrote, because you didn't really know about. You might have heard of it, but you'd never really gone there and seen it, the HEX mob thing.
I had heard about it. I hadn't checked it out. Correct.
Yeah. So you were saying, can we do? Is this something we could do? Is this something we could do? And I was like, well, kind of already have. Go to this thing and check it out. So you finally checked it out, and you were like, huh, it's pretty cool. And I said, well, if you think it'll work, why don't I just rebrand that and give it to the thing you're doing, which I guess we're doing now, is the way I was thinking at the time, because it isn't doing anything anyway. And I don't know if it's any use because no one uses it and gives me feedback. It seems to work. My wife likes it. My mate uses it. I've shown it to half a dozen other people on the internet and they just no reply. So I have no idea. You don't know, as a person working in a bubble on your own on a learning tool that never had a market that it was aiming for, whether it's of any real use at all, And you sort of said, yeah, I think it's pretty cool. So I was like, it's yours. You take responsibility for it. I only wrote it. If anything goes wrong, I got Maddie's phone number if anyone needs it.
That's right. Yeah.
Although I did dial it the other day and it made a strange noise. It went dit, 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 dit. So I don't know what that was about.
People know where to find me. MaddieAll.in. It's got all my contact information.
All my links. Yep.
Yeah, and then we just started to discover more and more ways to simplify things, and then that made us understand that there are more complicated things at work in terms of really the continuous function of T-share years, kind of how your T-shares burn out over time, different ways of looking at that. And so, yeah, it's really been cool to discover different parts of HEX with you and to be able to code that in something that we're gifting to the community and not taking a fee on. You and I are
I have to say that I don't mean to put down the concept of being rewarded for value created and things like that, but personally, I mean, messing about with computer code and stuff has always been an obsessive passion of mine, first and foremost, one of several. Um, so for me, the idea of ever being paid for writing a program that I wanted to write anyway just makes no sense. I see a lot of occasions in the world where people less fortunate than me, of course, because I don't need to. Yeah, wow. It's been 20 years now, and I often forget that I'm in a different context. So just to explain that, I haven't had to work for money to support myself, feed myself for about 20 years now. I wish I could say it was because I was super rich, but it's not. It's a whole other story. But I see a lot of times where a person will start out with a passion to do something, and when it becomes apparent that they might be able to make some money out of it, and because they need to make money to survive and to feed their family, the passion turns into a ball and chain kind of a thing. Or that didn't happen, but someone else comes along and says, "You need to monetize this." Do I? I didn't know. No, you need to. Okay. And then things go down that path. And this is all natural and normal, but yeah, I mean, gift to the community. It was there for the taking. Anybody. It's all open source, by the way. Well, I don't think TShare App is actually. It's supposed to be open source. Anybody who wants to see any of the code or do anything with it, yeah, it's completely open source. And
Yeah.
no, you know, it's just I don't see it as a gift to the community. Put it that way. It's a thing that emerged out of my mucking about and having fun, and it's there's a bunch of it lying around, and if anyone wants to pick some up and take it home, go for it. It's not a gift. It was never mine to give away. I don't.
That's the most abundant answer I've ever heard in my life.
Well, it's just true.
You're like, oh, there was just all this abundant code sitting around, so.
Well, I was gonna write it anyway, and it never had a target market. So it's just I'm surrounded by things that I've done that are mostly not quite finished, that are just sitting there. If only someone would maybe take some interest in one day. It's just how I roll.
Respect.
Yeah, I mean,
Respect.
didn't make me rich, but I have this thing called sanity, which I struggle to hold on to quite literally. So yeah, I mean, if it provides value, and it feels especially good. I mean, I won't lie. There's certainly been times where I have done things for people that promised the world, took the thing that I made, and the world never came. And I got quite bitter about it over the years. And so I would just stop doing anything as a favor. And then when my health took a downturn 20 years ago, I just stopped doing favors altogether, which is a horrible, horrible thing to have to sort of, because everyone wants to help somebody do something, right?
Yes.
At some point, people they love and whatnot. But when you get so cynical that you just won't do anything for free, period, no matter what the promises are. And I've been there, done that. And that's the other thing with HEX, I mean, it's trust. Do people understand what trustlessness is?
Sounds like a bad thing.
It does, doesn't it? It means that you can set something in motion that will happen even if none of the parties in the environment want it to or do anything to make it happen. It takes a DeFi app works in a trustless environment. A trustless environment is an environment where you can't trust anybody with anything, period. They're all out to get you, philosophically speaking. And it just does what it does anyway. That's what trustlessness is about.
What if we rebranded that to unstoppable?
Well, then I'd have to trust that it was unstoppable.
Good.
You see what I mean? That's the thing. It's like, but that's the thing.
You're using a positive lay word. I mean, communication, right? Like diction only goes as far as it's useful until it starts confusing people or giving them the opposite impression, right?
I have a thing that will do what it says it's going to do in this world, no matter if everybody in the whole world wants to shoot it down. That's positive, isn't it?
Unstoppable.
Nothing's unstoppable. Have you seen Rambo?
Trustless sounds like without trust.
It is. That's the beauty of it. It doesn't require trust to do what
But
it
they
does.
put the word trust on our money because we trust our money because we have to, right?
And it let us down. So this is trustless. It's got less trust. Oh, I get your point now.
Trust more.
What's that saying about something about a white asset or something or other? Something that has no real value? No, lost it. So you're looking for a new word. We need a new fulcrum for the zeitgeist.
I don't like trustless. It offends
No,
me.
yeah. Okay.
Unstoppable interest. Immutable interest.
We've heard all those
Dependable
words.
interest.
We've heard all those words before, though, and they've always turned out to be bullshit.
Okay.
So they come with baggage, in other words, I'm saying. So if there's anything I like about trustless, it's that, I mean, as far as I know, that wasn't a word before crypto, right?
Mathematic interest.
Maybe interest, not even the right word. In the way that sending money to your future self couldn't be said before, maybe we need a different word than interest, but it has to be a word that people understand. So how do you get a word that people understand, even though it's a new word that no one's ever heard before?
You don't. You just have them play a claw game and then they help you figure it out later
Yeah,
once
that
they've
could work.
experienced it.
Or you could concatenate two words together.
Okay. I know what that is. Go on.
Yeah. It's like joining, but lexical.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I like to put Asian and Asianatificate and stuff like that on the end of things, but I don't think that'll help.
I like to put future along with like stuff, so how about future interest?
Yeah, I'm beginning to think the wormhole idea had something to it.
Really? Or are you just saying that?
What's in the chat? People must be coming up with stuff in the chat. I'm always just saying something, matey. You haven't figured that out by now.
I mean, sometimes the chat kind of goes dead when people are really digging the content.
Oh yeah, immutable is fine. White elephant, yes, that's what I was thinking of. Now I can't remember why I was thinking of white elephant. Thank you for that. Servient. Servient. Evergreen abundance. Concatenate. I don't even know what that means.
I think
It
we're
means-
running into the same problem that we already solved, which is
Let me
like,
explain. Let me explain
just-
concatenate first. It's
Okay.
when you take a con and a cat and an innate and you join them all together. You have concatenated those three words.
you're putting segments together.
Well, you join two things together.
Well,
But-
when
but
we
it
process
implies
brainwave
adding-
data, when
well,
we
it
process
implies adding
brainwave data,
something
we
on the end.
concatenated the trials.
Yeah, but no, concatenate is more like adding to the end of, adding more onto the end,
Yeah,
joining the two ends together.
correct.
I don't know about you, but my brain's kind of 5D. There are no ends.
At the end of the day, I think what we find is that
Multiplier.
we shouldn't,
Trustable.
again, we literally need something else to do with ourselves other than try to think of ways to explain it to people, because that's not the fastest route. Like, the fastest route is for people to play the TShare.app game, get onboarded, and then we'll have like 10x the people to help us think about how to explain it.
Yep, that could work. Although we must remember that it took us weeks and weeks and weeks to even come up with the crane game, and I wrote several different games that all got scrapped along that path. So I don't know. Was it really a waste of time? I am reading. Are you reading the chat? There's some cool stuff here. Immutable
Trustable
is good.
interest? I like that.
Immutable. That's interesting because I didn't even know what immutable meant until I came across it in computer programming literature. Atomic as well. We have atomic functions and immutable variables, and I was like, "What is this immutable?" I had to look it up. Maybe that is a more common word than I thought. Servient. I keep coming back to servient. Servient money. Kind of implies trust without trust. Servient, loyal. Something about that. Multiplier. It is a multiplier. I think, for sure, I think the word interest just has so much baggage on it now. It's a joke. Monetary interest. Some trustable interest, adding meaning, fastest route to no distance travel at all. Wormhole, I love it. So what, the FRDT, fastest route distance travel, no. Fastest route no distance. FRND. Frid, or we can have the is. Frizned. Got something there though. Work on it. A bit
What
late
about
again.
4 DeFi?
Oh, bye.
4D
That's
finance.
been. I've seen that somewhere. Someone else has got that.
Well, I've seen Bitcoin before, but we're taking over the whole programmable money job, so.
Trustless interest. Well, the best you've come up with so far, in my opinion, is pay your future self.
Okay. And that's you, future us, so.
Yeah. I am all of you. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Well, I know that it's been super enjoyable, as I imagined it would be, to have you on HEX Therapy. And I know we're getting here towards the end of the second hour, which is usually what I limit it to in order to practice self-care and to balance all the other things that I'm working on. So
yeah, whatever. So this someone says trustable could be a concatenation, John, of trust and stable. Trust stable instead of trustable.
Wow.
Trustable.
Whoa, that's deep.
Sorry, Manny. I got my fun cutting you
That's
off and
deep.
saying whatever. You can.
No, I'm glad you did.
Revenue. This is cool. This is like having other parts of my brain I never knew I had.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chad.
Yeah. Oh, the chat is amazing. It's like having a bunch of smart people thinking about the same things we are all at the same time.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nathan, to answer your question about the tech stack, it's React.js. I'd never used it before.
So to, I guess, wrap up this episode so that future us and I can talk offline about all the cool stuff we have in store for, not promising any work, but also keeping ourselves busy and, continuing to find ways that we can pay forward what we've been afforded in the HEX community. So thank you to future us. Thank you to the community and everybody who's been watching. We really appreciate your support. And, all we're asking, so we're giving this away for free. For me, I've been giving my time for free because I hope that people will use this. And so I'm asking for you all to help use it and promote it, right? So text your mom or your dad or your friends, family, I don't know about people
Well,
you hate.
I would say have a go at it yourself and get the experience and see if you sort of feel the same vibe that we felt when we sort of did it. The unexpectable, there might be something to
Yeah.
this. And if it does gel with you, then do what he said.
Share it with yourself first.
Yes, with your future self.
Your present
Um,
self. Well, thank you.
yeah. And if you already have, then congratulate your past self.
Correct.
Yeah. And if you do the thing and you sort of don't get it and you don't get the vibe, and it's just not your thing and you don't think the people you know would relate to it, more ideas, please. More
Yeah.
ideas.
Help us mint ideas. Yay.
Inevitable yield.
Brain
John,
trust.
you're on fire.
Inevitable yield?
Yeah, John Gibbons.
Wow. That's
Again.
really good. That's really good, John Gibbons. Shout out to you.
IY.
Inevitable yield.
And the letters are IY as a acronym.
We have a winner.
For now.
Jackpot.
We had. I wrote 2 other complete games that we scrapped that were winners. So let's keep thinking about it. But yeah.
That. Tshirt.app. I mean, that's
renewable abundance.
We're gonna keep having the same. This is just.
That's not bad either. So I didn't see this one. Whatever. Sorry.
Turnway.
Renewable abundance. Oh, Turnway. Right. Okay. Yeah. Renewable abundance is also interesting to me because it's
Whoa.
Is that whole renewable is a zeitgeisty thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Renewable. And
it
is renewable abundance
because
you can like restake and just live off the interest. And,
yeah. Whoa.
Withdraw your interest, restake the principal, renewable abundance.
Yeah, I'm gonna take some notes here.
Inevitable. Inevitable yield, yeah. This is good, guys. Eddie thinks he's going to end the stream and go do something else soon. He's such a positive guy.
What am I going to do? Go think of worse ideas than people are coming up with in chat?
Exactly right. Duh. Thanks for the stream, Maddie. Who disappointed? Sandy B. I'm a tard. Sorry to disappoint. No. Got on the stream. Tried to get my mum to get on the stream. She's not a tard, but she's not here. Well done.
What are the ideas for? Like
a better way to say
trustless. Trustless. Jinx. Hex.
Wow, yeah.
We've come full circle.
Fail safe yield.
Sounds like Safe Moon.
Isn't that interesting? Not that we mention any other tokens or coins on this stream, as far as I know. Must get around to writing the T's and C's so that I can read it. That fascinates me. Those other smart contracts out there that seem to appear to everybody to be just like HEX because they promise ongoing interest in everything. But let's take Safe Moon very briefly, if I can do such a thing. The website says that it's a community-driven thing, and it has a picture of like a graph, like a bar graph going up, and it's like as if there's steps, and there are people on the higher steps putting their hand down and helping other people and pulling them up the stairs. And I was like, okay, interesting. So then I go read the contract code and I see how it works, and I'm like, so the way the people that are already in get their interest is from a tax from the new people coming in. Where have I seen this before? And then half of that tax goes to a liquidity pool so that people that want to cash out of the system have something to cash out against. Who would want to cash out? Don't know. Maybe the people that got in first. So the new people pay the older people who hope to break even and profit on the stuff that they put in, that paid the people that came in before them. And then you have HEX, which inflates 3.69% per year, and people get paid and number go up. And no one gets any money taken from them ever for anything, unless they don't keep their promise and break the thing. These do not seem like the same thing to me. Just saying.
You're correct.
But they both say
which one sounds better?
Safe moon. No?
Yeah.
I think it does.
I
mean, it has no heart like
Correct.
HEX does.
And I'm pretty sure they don't have a claw game either.
No. Well, that settles it, doesn't it?
Yes.
Settles it. But you know, on the positive side, I mean, they are quite the community and everything, and so I'm really hoping that that as they get more into crypto and whatnot, that SafeMoon turns out to be yet another onboarding system for HEX and helps a lot of people in that way.
Yeah.
Does that work? I'm trying to learn this positivity thing.
Yeah.
But they are a fun and engaging community, and I've never seen anything negative. It's not like the Bitcoin community, right? So they shouldn't be demonized because they want what we want. They just don't realize that you can actually get it in a proper way that's not going to burn them.
Yeah.
Yet. So.
Yeah. Our future Hexicans over there in SafeMoon, save yourselves. Come to Hex. Not financial advice.
Yeah. Sandy was saying SafeMoon sounds
mathematical command.
Sandy B, SafeMoon sounds cringe ASF. Yeah, well, it's a rebranded same old thing we've seen 1,000 times before, basically. And you know, I don't know the people that behind it. I'm not sure that they necessarily know that they're running a Ponzi per se. They might just not have a good grip on economics and how economics works. Because this idea of, I mean, this is being generous to be true, but sure, but it may just be that they just don't have a good understanding of how economics actually plays out and how it works, because it is a complex topic. And the idea of people getting in first and helping other people and introducing them to the system, and we all pay a bit of tax to help the system along and all that, it sounds kind of cool. You know, community driven and all the rest of it. None of it's lies. It's all true. It's exactly how it works. They're not telling any lies. Maybe they just haven't quite, because it's difficult to compute. Things that take time to play out are very difficult to predict in the here and now when you're in a rush deciding whether you're going to throw money at it, right? And so systems like that, initially it looks like, okay, well, I'll be taxed 10%, but it'll only be a week or two and I'll have broken even, and then it's all profit after that. And they just maybe haven't experienced the fact that that's not how it works before. But then there's HEX, and I didn't used to have a solution for these people. All I could say is you're being scammed, even if they think they're doing the right thing. It's stupid, don't do it, been there, done that. Learn by my mistakes. No, okay, whatever. But now we don't even have to have that conversation. Because I can say, yeah, isn't it awesome? So it's like smart money that pays interest, blah, 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 blah. Wouldn't it be cool if the source of that interest could come from somewhere that wasn't other people getting in? It just happened through the power of economics and market forces and the way the world works.
Renewable abundance, inevitable yield, hex.com, TShare.app.
Exactly. There you go. And that, folks, is the quintessential difference between HEX and pretty much everything else out there that says yield and interest. They're pretty much all the same, more or less.
HEX is too good to be true. So we made a version of it that's like a game so that you don't think about that too much. Yay.
I promise, Nick guys, when I get him onto the next app, you'll hear a little less about TShare App and a little more about whatever the next cool thing is. I promise. Wrong thing to say? Too soon.
I mean, I was just thinking about how we have Nick here in the comments who like literally already came from the Safe Moon community and has already seen the light. So welcome. Welcome to the party, as Richard Hart would say.
Good on you, Nick. I'd be interested, Nick, if you if you did that because you did look into how the two systems worked to see that, the differences, or maybe it was a community thing, or maybe you just knew somebody that did really, really well in HEX.
Already a hexagon, okay.
Already hexagon, yeah.
And
diversified. Good on you.
Price might be an honest signal whenever it's being honest, which is rare in pump and
price
dumps,
always tells the truth. It's just that there's a time delay.
Okay.
Because what is true now isn't necessarily true tomorrow, right?
So is HEX telling the truth being so cheap right now?
Are you telling the truth saying HEX is so cheap right now?
My future self thinks so, because my future self has renewable abundance and inevitable yield.
Well, HEX is a new technology, a new system that has never existed before in all recorded history, as far as we know, at any level or in any system. Because what else in this universe is immutable, truly, right? Nothing. Everything decays.
Yeah.
So it's never existed before. So it's a new technology. It's a new thing. It's a thing that a bunch of people get excited about. And when I look at the graph, it looks kind of, well, it depends on the scale, to be fair. But I mean, it doesn't have that parabolic sort of starting of the S-curve thing, really. It's sort of done it a few times, but it's kind of flat. So pre-viral seems to be what I'm seeing. So if it's pre-viral, and if going viral increases the price, then I guess it must be really cheap right now.
I knew the price was lying to us.
I don't know. I don't know. But that's what I see, and that's what it seems.
So there's a website called hexgraphs.com, and it's got some cool graphics to show you like how early you are and what the performance has been over time. It's a really cool site. I want to plug them. It's a really great place to go for information. I'm just looking at it again now. Let me see if I can find the one I was thinking of. Performance.
I think anyone who invests money into anything in this world owes it to themselves to understand how the thing they're invested in actually works.
After you get in.
After you get in.
App.
Yeah. But of course, one of the things crypto has done is it's taken down a bunch of the barriers to entry for investing in general. Like if you want to invest in the share market, you can't easily, I guess Robinhood these days, but it used to be that you couldn't just throw $50 at it and see, and then shrug it off and see how we go. But with crypto, you can just put small amounts in here, there, and everywhere, hedge your bets and all the rest of it. And so because it's such a small amount, I guess the arduous task of learning how does this really work, especially when someone coming at it from a non-technical background, that's a big challenge, I guess. But there's that old adage: you should never invest in anything you don't understand. And I don't think HEX, SafeMoon, Bitcoin, Ethereum, any of that should be exempt from that rule. And it doesn't matter how. The cool thing with HEX is that you've got 15 years to figure it out, right? Before your stake ends, there's no rush. You can't say that about any other investment platform that I'm aware of. See what I did there? Are you late for HEX?
No.
See, the scale's wrong on that graph. How can it do this when it hasn't even got to 10 cents yet? I think it's a marketing ploy. It's a statistician.
What do you mean?
The
No,
person who
that's
drew that
Bitcoin's.
graph.
That's Bitcoin's chart.
Oh, now it all makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get it.
I'll put it back up there.
Oh, yeah, that would help. Oh, yeah, I get it. I
See
should
the
make my
B?
screen bigger.
I zoomed in on the other part.
Maybe if my whole window of StreamYard wasn't only 6 inches wide. Ah, you are here. Exactly. Ooh, I'm not supposed to say that. I don't own the copyright.
Thanks to everybody for listening to our Hex Talk. Thank you for coming to our Hex Talk. As you can tell, future us and
Thank you for sacrificing your time.
We have very enjoyable conversations about all things Hex, and so I'm glad everybody got to join us here for HEX Therapy, talking about what does sacrifice really mean, and what does it feel like, and how can it help us with sudden wealth syndrome. Hope this has been helpful. I hope you try out TShare.app for yourself, which links to MetaMask and is a world of fun. Use responsibly, right? And
do not TShare app and drive. You might lose the game.
Follow @FutureUs on Twitter. And you can find my links at mattyall.in.
I don't need no links.
Peace out, y'all.